All right. Well, appreciate you all being here. A couple of things. As most of you know, I'm sure, the Sync Up Conference is a program of the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, which is the nonprofit that owns the Jazz Fest and radio station WWOZ and the Jazz and Heritage Archive that's in the French Quarter. And our role is not to produce the festival. That's done by Quint Davis and his company, Festival Productions Incorporated. Instead, our job is to use the money from Jazz Fest for year-round programs in the areas of education, economic development, and cultural enrichment. And we've been doing this conference, Sync Up, for quite a number of years now as an effort to take advantage of the fact that so many great entertainment industry folks like to come into New Orleans for Jazz Fest, and it gives us an opportunity to network, to take advantage of the knowledge that a lot of these folks have, and to help create the types of connections that lead to a larger entertainment industry for our region. So that is our purpose. We are webcasting live on WWOZ, so welcome to all the folks watching on their computers. It's too bad you couldn't be here. You're missing the Bloody Marys. They're spicy. Let's see. A couple of quick things. Some of you may have heard on the way in that largely because of the incident in Boston last week, there were some heightened security measures here at the museum. So if somebody asks you to check your bag at the coat check, please don't be surprised. The security folks are just doing their jobs, so please be cooperative and help us make sure that everybody gets to come in and leave safely. How many of you are planning on going to Jazz Fest? Well, all right. How many of you have been to Sync Up before? Hell yeah. All right, so most of you are probably familiar with these little wristband dealios that for coming to this conference you get. And these are the credentials that allow you into our highly exclusive and extremely luxurious and very small hospitality area that we have out at the festival. So if you're out at the fairgrounds this weekend, any day this weekend, and you've got one of these on, this allows you into the Sync Up hospitality area. If you don't know where it is, ask one of our folks. We'll direct you, and it's open every day from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock at the festival. And that's just an opportunity for you all to get out of the sun, to refresh, and to carry on the conversations that were begun in this room. So that's our little perk for folks that come to Jazz Fest. And I think that is it. A quick word about parking. How many of y'all parked cars here? Okay, fair enough. You're supposed to grab a dashboard pass from us before you leave. If you're intending on leaving your car here and going to the festival, then before you leave, grab one of our dashboard passes. Actually, I think they're now making us use 2 dashboard passes. So grab one of each and put them on your dashboard, and then your car should be good to go for the rest of the day, so go to the festival and enjoy. And so that's about it. You know that we've got an action-packed block of activities and speakers coming to you this weekend and next weekend as well. You also know that on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this coming week is our 2nd annual film showcase called Sync Up Cinema. So that's where we provide a showcase for locally produced independent films. So the New Orleans Video Access Center and the New Orleans Film Society have been coordinating those presentations, including panel discussions, and they've done an amazing job. It's a really full schedule, so be sure to check that out and come back on Monday and Tuesday, and also come back tomorrow, and then next weekend as well. And you will be rewarded for your efforts of getting up early on Jazz Fest weekends with incredible knowledge and inspiration for marching forward and building the New Orleans entertainment industry. So once again, bravo to you all for being here. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and start this panel, and I'm just going to semi-moderate and not even really hit you all with the extremely hard questions that I had prepared, because it's early and I know you're still waking up. Have you had 3 Bloody Marys yet? 4? Still working from last night? All right, cool. So this panel is really just an effort that we wanted you all to make sure, I wanted to make sure that you all knew who some of the folks are in our community here who are doing really cool things and pushing the envelope and moving things forward. So we invited a bunch of folks to come and talk to you briefly about what they're working on. So I want to ask Patrick Crilly to talk for a few minutes about the digital tip jar and maybe talk about the inspiration for that. Sure. And if there are some other projects that you're working on that you want folks to know about, please take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Yeah, my name is Patrick. I got started a few years ago, and for the last few years I've been working to increase monetization for live performance. I founded a company called Live Music NOLA. We've been doing live streaming, live recording in all the clubs around town and local festivals. And one of the things that came out of that was we wanted people to be able to tip the band while they're listening to a performance from home. And last year, the Jazz and Heritage Foundation brought down a group called UX for Good when they looked at the New Orleans music ecosystem. And one of the solutions they saw was a digital tip jar. And that was also something that I had seen as an opportunity to make more money on gigs, because I'm a performing musician also. I've played in a lot of clubs around town and left the gig with like 20 bucks in my pocket sometimes, and it just seemed like we could be doing better. So digital tip jar became a reality during a 48-hour hackathon that my man Travis right here organized. And so since then we've been just growing it and modifying things based on how people want to use it. We went to South by Southwest. We got Bootsy Collins on a digital tip jar, and had a lot of fun with that. And just recently, actually, we're going to launch a scavenger hunt for street musicians. It's going to debut Monday. So if you guys are in town for the next week and you don't have anything to do during the off days on Jazz and Heritage Foundation, this is a good activity for you. You're going to have a map of the city, and you get to go around and find street performers and learn about their music, tip them in a process, and win things in return.
So how does it work? Do you have to be a New Orleans musician to sign up?
You don't have to be a New Orleans musician. Most of the musicians are New Orleans musicians right now, just because that's who we know, and that's we're trying to kind of like perfect the product before we really make a push to go into other cities. But we've had people in Seattle, people in Austin, even people like in London signing up.
So if I sign up to be a member of the digital tip jar, I can be playing a gig somewhere and somebody can see me and electronically deposit money in my account.
Exactly.
And so how do they do that? What do they do, and how do I get the dough?
Well, right now we're mainly powered through PayPal and Stripe. So most people have PayPal accounts. If they don't, it's really easy to get one. And basically, when you sign up for digital tip jar, you put your PayPal ID into your account, and we hook up the digital tip jar right to your PayPal. So your fans just drop money in, and it goes straight to your PayPal account. And it's good for live gigs, but it's also good. We found, if anybody knows who the Mike Dillon Band is, that's one of my favorite local bands. They were on tour recently. All right, there you go. And Mike's van broke down, and they had to get a new engine. And it was going to cost him $7,000. And I saw him, he made a post on Facebook about he was selling his drum set to pay for his van. So I called him up and got him on the digital tip jar. And it was amazing to see within 48 hours they'd raised over $3,000. And he's able to get a new van, and he didn't have to sell his drums to do it. And as a thank you, he's sending out a live recording to his fans. And this was really interesting to me because I've been live recording Mike Dillon for a long time and trying to sell these recordings. And we would only sell like a handful of them, never really made him any money doing these live recording stuff. But when we gave the recording away for free and let people tip him, all of a sudden all this love came in from all over the country, and it was really inspiring to see that.
And so if I'm out seeing a band on Frenchmen Street tonight and I want to tip them, what do I have to do?
Well, so when we first built it, we started out with QR codes.
Okay.
And we would have bands post their QR codes, and some people did that.
So like make a flyer with this code that somebody
right.
can scan with a smartphone?
So whenever you sign up for Digital Tip Jar, you automatically get a QR code that's unique to your band. And when anybody scans it, it takes it to your tip jar page. But one of the things we found during our process after building this was that just people don't really use QR codes that much. I don't know if anybody in the crowd does that, but a lot of people were able to ignore these QR codes and not use them. So we've been developing new methods for incorporating digital tip jar. One of those is live streams. Another one is a scavenger hunt like I'm talking about. It's a check-in. So you check in at a location, and then as soon as you check in, you're able to tip the band if you want and leave a message for the band and get rewards for your tip and all that kind of stuff.
All right. Well, it sounds like it's kind of the brave new frontier of monetizing live performance.
We hope so, because a lot of people don't carry cash around with them anymore, and that's been a problem. Like, I went on tour with my band a couple weeks ago, and we would have people wanting to buy CDs from us, and they're like, "Oh, I don't have any cash on me."
So wait a
Break
second.
out
So
your
if I
digital
don't
tip
have any
jar.
cash and I don't want to use my QR code scanner on my phone, how do I tip you?
It just if anybody has internet on their phone, you'll have your URL will be digitaltipjar/Scott Aiges.
So do you have an app yet?
We don't have it's a web app, so you don't have to download anything. It's
Okay.
it works on Android, iOS, whatever, and it's optimized for your mobile phone, but it works on desktop. But there's no app to download as of yet,
Okay.
but we might introduce one.
All right. And are you yet to the point where you're able to provide any kind of statistics or analytics to the bands so they can say, well, I'm getting tips from Germany, I'm getting
Oh, yeah.
tips from,
Definitely.
Australia. I need to book myself a gig in Australia because everybody loves me there.
Exactly. It's exactly like that. And if you read
How did I know?
Scott knows. If you read the message, people leave messages with their tips a lot of times because they like to communicate with their bands, and they'll say things like, "We love you in Little Rock. You got to come back to Little Rock." And it's a who knew? But
Okay.
that's where you find out where your fans are at.
All right. Let's pick it up with Travis Laurendine, who I'm sure you all know. Travis, you had a hand in the launching of the digital tip jar. Why don't you tell us about the scenario with the hackathon and tell us what that's all about and how you're moving things forward with that.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing? All right, who's awake? So the digital tip jar was created at a hackathon. Who knows what a hackathon is? Okay, so a hackathon is a software competition that's timed where you give software developers a certain challenge. And what they do is they bring together the tech community, and that's something that I saw that New Orleans really needed, is some kind of action-based event to actually see who has different skills and find collaborators. And we also needed something really big to kind of be the umbrella to bring everybody together. And I used the Super Bowl as our opportunity. And through fate or however it worked out, the event ended up being very successful. Digital Tip Jar got made in a slew of other apps. I ended up being on Headline News TV and Forbes and CNN and all these other things. It ended up being a great thing for the city. But the beautiful thing about it is that now this organization has continued, and through participation with Scott and Jazz Fest and a bunch of other great sponsors, we actually just did one centered just around music. And that was the most recent hackathon. And what was special about this one was that we actually brought the music industry. Reeves, who's sitting right next to me, we're going to keep this train of going right along. Reeves, his company actually had a team in. Winter Circle created an app that allows them to track their street team and the actions that they do to promote their shows. Other apps that were made at the event. The one that won was called Consearch. And I love this app. I help the guys when they're in their idea phase for this app. If you go on consearch.in right now and you put in a band that you like, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Justin Bieber, whoever you like, it will then comb through New Orleans music listings and suggest a similar band to that so that you can find something new to do. It's kind of like a surprise every time, so it has a little element of fun to it. They won the challenge. They actually won tickets to Sync Up. They're going to be in the Sync Up 10. If anybody goes in there, you can find that team. But the beautiful thing about this was that we took all of our talented software people, UNO students, developers, designers, and we linked them with what we're doing here in the music industry to try and move everything forward, because it's not like we're going to get anywhere in the music industry without digital and technology being at the forefront. And so I'm happy to be the conduit for it. I do a bunch of other stuff, if it's time to talk about other stuff too, or...
Sure.
So,
Nah, never mind.
No,
I'm kidding.
No,
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Couple of minutes.
I have a project that I'm really proud of that's gaining a lot of traction, a lot of YouTube views right now. It's called Bloody Sunday Sessions. It was kickstarted. A lot of people here, probably got involved in the Kickstarter, have seen the videos. We basically take bands and some of our favorite bands, and we're lucky to work with these people who we really respect. We put them in the back of a mule-drawn carriage in the French Quarter or in Bayou St. John or wherever else, and we capture takeaway performances. And I'm lucky enough to have my collaborator on this be Eric Heigl, who does sound for Treme and does sound for Tipitinas, and now is the production manager of One Eye Jacks. And we somehow, for Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, we had a 12-person band in a carriage, all mic'd up, moving with 2 cameras, and it somehow sounds like they're in a studio. It almost sounds better than they're in a studio. And I encourage you to go out and watch this and support this project, because we have a whole bunch released. I actually have a list here of all of the bands that we've filmed for this. And we're happy to announce that we actually just got Mute Math to sign up to do it. And we might have somebody, Gary Clark Jr. So we have Honey Island Swamp Band, Maggie Kerner, DeVell Crawford, Aurora Nayland, King James and the Special Men in the back, Hollow James. Machia Lake, Klezmer All-Stars, Fishbone Brassaholics, the Morning 40 Federation, the New Orleans Bingo Show, Eric Lindell, Luke Winslow King, Blake Hunter, Edward Sharpe, Lakey Lee, and we're very, very happy that we actually filmed Uncle Lionel in the Treme Brass Band right before he passed. And if anyone's seen that episode, make sure you watch it all the way through to when Uncle Lionel's singing at the end, because it's just it's him. We actually captured Uncle Lionel's spirit that day, and I was lucky enough to buy him a hamburger at Cosmo's after and sit at the bar. And it's one of those special moments, and that's one of the beautiful things about getting involved in different projects, is that the time when you sit around after the shoot or before the shoot, when you get to hang out with the musicians, those end up being the memorable moments. And I'm very happy to have had that special moment with Uncle Lionel.
Awesome. Well, Reeves, you want to talk about Winter Circle, or should we carry on talking about app stuff and come back to you?
I can.
Let's go ahead.
I can kind of segue.
So, you guys are probably best known for doing the Buku Music Festival.
Sure.
What else do you do? And then we'll talk a little bit about Buku.
My name's Reeves Price. I founded Winter Circle Productions. We're concert promoters in the purest sense. Founded it with my business partner, Dante Di Pasquale, in 2008. We started, kind of the spark was really post-Katrina. I graduated from Tulane. Katrina kind of split my time at Tulane in half. It fell between my sophomore and my junior year, and I noticed a huge decrease in the number of kind of national and international acts that were coming through town. And I wanted to see more music that I liked. I wanted the New Orleans music community to kind of be, continue to be exposed by sounds from outside of New Orleans. So we started doing our own shows. They started small. They started, very small, and that was 5 years ago, and we've gone from doing 30-person shows in the Dragon's Den or in hotel lobbies to a 13,000 person music festival. And it's been a slow and steady process, and I'm glad we stuck with it.
Not to get too deep into your business, because I'm sure that's what you want to do, is like put it all out there right now, but how do you fund a company like that? I mean, do you do an IPO and look for shareholders?
Well, we're totally independent, and have been since the beginning. Between you and I, it was funded on basically fraudulent student loans.
Perfect. That's America for you, right
pretty
there.
Much. That's kind of how we got it started. And
so you weren't actually in school. You were using...
No, I was in school, but I had money left over that was, I was supposed to be spending on rent and food and things like that.
Is that lady from the IRS here?
So that's kind of how we got it started. We really value the partnerships, and I think part of the reason that we've grown and been as successful as we have is we've really, remained independent. What that means is we can go into, when we talk to an artist or an agent or a manager, and they come to us, we're really the only person that they can contact in New Orleans, and we can put them in any venue that they want to go to. They want to play Tipitinas, they want to play House of Blues, they want to play One Eye Jacks, they want to play Maison, they want to play the Hi-Ho, they want to play in front of 10,000 people, at Mardi Gras World. We can, we are the most versatile and kind of independent promoters in this town and kind of this region, where we can take an artist and say, hey, instead of saying, hey, we've got this great room for you, we can say, hey, where do you want to play? So that's kind of at the heart of our independence, and then that allows us to partner with other, major promoters, whether it's C3 or AEG or our friends, Hookah Entertainment that do Hangout Festival, or our friends MCP Presents that we work on festivals with, or Jam Productions out of Chicago. We love partnering, co-producing events with other companies and kind of building that network. And so we spread the risk around, go slowly, try, and try not to lose everything in one fell swoop.
How many shows a year are you promoting now?
Probably, it kind of depends. Once Buku kind of came into the picture, the number of club shows that we started doing, that number went down a little bit. I'd say at the peak of when we were doing club shows, it was probably 50 a year, maybe a little bit more. And now it's probably between, probably closer to 30 or 40 a year plus the festival stuff.
You guys are one of the few concert promoters that are working heavily with electronic dance music.
In this part
in New Orleans. You're one of the
Sure.
few New Orleans promoters that are working heavily in EDM.
Sure.
Is New Orleans a big electronic town? Because most people tend to think of it as being a funk and jazz kind of place.
Well, New Orleans, not a lot of people know about this, and certain members of kind of the EDM community would be surprised if people don't know this, but New Orleans was one of the kind of epicenters of like the dance community in the late 90s, like the raves and the things that were going down here in the late 90s and early 2000s were huge. And then that kind of went away, and the sort of resurgence of EDM as a genre and kind of its explosion into like popular culture and sort of as just kind of the younger generation's sort of pop music. That's definitely coming into New Orleans. That was stuff that we wanted to hear when I was in college and when I was younger that wasn't here, and that's kind of where we started. And we've watched it slowly grow into definitely a really viable genre within New Orleans, and that's something that we've been trying to sell to agents and artists and other promoters that we want to work with. Is, hey, like, New Orleans is not just a roots town. This is a town that has a rich musical history, but it's also moving forward and relevant in a lot of contemporary senses as well. We've got some great DJs, great producers that are kind of coming into their own now, and I think part of that's because they've been exposed to some of the acts that we've brought in, and a couple of the other promoters that are doing that as well. So it absolutely is. I mean, Buku is a perfect example of that. That went from last year was a 4,000 person event in its first year to a 13,000 person event, and that's pretty much solely contemporary music. There's, we specifically book bands on there. Some local bands that we know that have never been booked at Jazz Fest. Local bands that have been around for 10 years and have been applying to Jazz Fest every single year and have never been accepted because they're not kind of a New Orleans to Jazz Fest band. So we specifically, when we were supporting our local artists, we went after acts that we knew that were friends of ours that really hadn't gotten love from Jazz Fest and from other kind of roots-oriented music festivals. And so we aim to showcase those as well, aim to showcase kind of the bounce scene that's become such a signature New Orleans sound, and then also the contemporary, the indie rock, electronic, the hip hop, and that type of stuff.
So you guys are becoming known in the industry nationwide and globally as event promoters and producers in the New Orleans market. So a booking agent in Los Angeles or Chicago might call you up and say, hey, we have Diplo or somebody who is routing a tour through the Southeast, and would you guys promote a show? Are you interested? Do you want to buy that show from us? Do you want to do it? And
yeah, that's exactly how it works. When we started, we were first doing shows just in New Orleans, and then we kind of had a little taste of success, and we said, okay, let's go. We want to go out of New Orleans. We want to be in, we started doing shows in Tallahassee and Mobile and Nashville, North Carolina. And then we kind of pulled back from that and said, okay, we had, mixed success there, and we also were realizing that as an independent promoter, we weren't really going to make it just by doing smaller club shows. And so that's when we decided we really had to move to a festival and really get ourselves into a scenario. We were making money off of much more than just the door. We needed to be able to sell our own concessions, print our own tickets, get our own sponsors, all those things, which you can't do just going into it renting a club for a night. A club won't give you a percentage of the bar that, when you pack their house and sell it out. They won't give you a percentage of the sponsor dollars that they have coming in. So as a promoter, that was our only way to really survive. But we kind of pulled back and really just focused on New Orleans, and that's kind of when our specialty was, hey, if you want to come to New Orleans, you want to come to, the Gulf Coast, we're the guys to do it with. So as a promoter, yeah, an agent hits us up and says, hey, we want Diplo to come through. It's going to cost you 20 grand. Are you ready to lose it or make it? And we say, we'll look at it. We crunch the numbers and say, okay, we think we can sell this many tickets for this show. Let's do it. Or we'll pass on it and say, you're asking too much money.
So for the, because you know what's going to happen as soon as we finish this panel, all the musicians in the room are going to come up to you and say, hey, man, can I get a gig? So what kind of, do you have many opportunities to employ local musicians, or is that, something that comes in well after the fact as far as your business decisions?
I mean, one thing that we pride ourselves in is we're willing to invest in artists. I guess I kind of simplified it in that previous statement, kind of looking at it from just a money perspective, but or oversimplified it. We like seeing picking an artist that we believe in, and going with them start to finish. One of the things that our flexibility allows us is we can take a band like Mumford & Sons. We booked them on their first North American tour, put them in Republic, paid them a couple grand, and the show sold out in 2 weeks. We had no idea. They got huge traction, and now we can grow with them, and now we're producing them at Mardi Gras World, and it's a 9,000 person show that sold out in 45 minutes. We can do that with local musicians as well. If it's a local band, whether it's Gravity A or the Soul Rebels or anybody else, if it's a band that we or Big Frida or an artist that we believe in, we want to invest in them. We want to put them on opening up for our shows, and then work towards building them as a headliner, and kind of we're really interested in growing those artists because it's financially it makes sense for us, because when we help develop an artist, they keep coming back to us and they say, hey, they might come to us and say, hey, we don't have a good promoter in Atlanta or a good promoter in Chicago, can you help us? And we'll definitely do that. So we absolutely I'm hungry for local artists that are willing to get out there, hit the road, tour, gig and play every show like it's their last.
Could I just ask you to turn it down a little bit? You guys are too loud over there. No, I'm talking to you, Buku.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't let that pass. Okay. Y'all know what I'm talking about? I'm not going to make you talk about it.
Thank you.
Let's just keep moving on down the line. Sure. Darren, some folks may remember that 2 years ago in this room we showcased a version of your player. Your company, Tutti Dynamics, is a film production company that has made an incredibly cool iPad app that is a music learning tool, an instructional tool for musicians. Can you tell us a little bit about the product and how the company got started and what your ambition for it is?
Sure. Well, we got started because you guys helped us out. The Jazz and Heritage Foundation awarded us a community grant back in 2007, and we used that to...
You guys still haven't filed your final report, by the way.
Sorry. I'll give it back. We used that to fund the beginning of a recording session we did at University of New Orleans in 2008, where we recorded 9 of some of the top musicians in the city, and most of which were my teachers, which I studied with at UNO, where I studied jazz studies. And basically, if anybody's seen a DVD player with a remote control, there's a button on it, or even a secondary button usually, for the angle button on a DVD. And what this does is that if you're watching, you can hit on a particular type of DVD that's authored for it, you can switch angles from one stream to the next. And so in 2006, I did a test where I put up 11 cameras around a piano trio, and we recorded them. And then on the DVD, I enabled the user to switch between an ensemble view where you can see all the instruments, to the piano, to the bass, to the drums. And this was the beginning of what we now call the Tutti music player. So when I got here, we recorded these musicians, Shannon Powell, Jason Marcellus, Lucien Barberin, Topsy Chapman, the list keeps going. And we knew we would want to use it for this interactive format. We wanted to make a documentary film, and we wanted to make an album from these recordings. So we started coding a software version of this the day Steve Jobs announced the iPad 1. And it took us about 3 years to finish the iPad version, but we also made a Mac or PC version in the middle of that. And we now have this player, which again, allows you to see every instrument in the band with lockdown cameras, so nothing's moving or distracting. Then you could tap on one instrument, and then it goes to multiple cameras of that one instrument. Then you could slide around, go to different instruments. But then you can also isolate the sound of each one, or mute them out, or mix them totally on the fly. So it's
So for a student musician who is watching a performance on the screen, they can focus in just on the drummer or just on the trombone player, and they can hear only the trombone, or they can hear everything but the trombone.
or
right?
or a mix of 2 instruments out of the 5, or et cetera.
While
So
also having the sheet music scroll along in real time as
Right.
they're playing. So
Right.
it's got incredible potential as a learning tool.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. And the sheet music stuff is still in the works. We have all the sheet music displayed, so you can swipe through the pages. But we're working on the ability for it to show like a highlighting tool, kind of like karaoke kind of stuff. But you can do a mixing. You can do a mix. So basically, it gives you a visual reference to play along with. So if you're a drummer and there's a complicated coordination thing you're trying to mimic, then you can see the instrument being played without hearing it, or hear just that one instrument away from the rest of the band. And that way, but if it's muted, you can play along with the rest of the band, and then eventually you're going to be able to, with the new features that we're rolling out, you can be able to record yourself replacing that track, then sharing it off, sending it off to teachers and friends. What it is, it's sort of like it's like a garage band, but with consumable media. So you can so what we did is we're now publishing content. These first recordings from New Orleans, we call the Modern Masters of New Orleans series. That was just actually released yesterday on the app, in the App Store. It's only on iPad. We have an iPhone version coming out soon. And then the Mac and PC version we have out, but we haven't released the New Orleans stuff yet. But basically, what you're able to do is get up close and personal to a master's technique at your own discretion. When you're watching a regular music performance video, it's the editor and the producer who's in charge of who you're watching, and you're basically hearing the whole band together. But for the most part, they'll put the front man and the lead guitar at the front of the mix, and so I try to get all that out of the way so that you're in control of all these things.
Awesome. And we need to keep
Yeah.
rolling, but I just want to mention that you've had some incredible success with this. You've had Jazz at Lincoln Center employ your technology, Berkeley School of Music as well.
Yep.
So as an entrepreneur, developing this music ed, this tech ed application with a New Orleans-based company, you guys are taking it global.
Yeah.
When does the Aerosmith version come out?
Tomorrow.
Oh, excellent.
It's only for you though.
Oh. Rockin'. All right. Thanks. Tutti Dynamics, Darren Hoffman. Lawrence Parker. Hip Hop Awards, the New Orleans Hip Hop Awards producer.
Yeah.
Author of inspirational books. Fashion entrepreneur. How many hats do you have on?
I would say about good 5 or 6.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, start by telling us about the Hip Hop Awards. Where did that come from, and who are some of the folks that you've recognized?
Yeah, the NOLA Hip Hop Awards originated from me just sitting down thinking about how can we pay homage to a lot of our hip hop legends of the past, and just doing the event where we dedicate an event and just award them on their hard work and creating a lane for all our new underground artists. So our first year started out with just doing like an event for Soulja Slim of the past and stuff like that. So, and then we sold out real fast. So just at the same time of paying homage to our past, we wanted to create a lane for our new local artists and award them for their hard work and just giving them something to stay motivated and helping create a lane so we can get this music out of the city of New Orleans. Yeah.
And so where did you hold the most recent version of the Hip Hop Awards?
The Joy Theater. The Joy Theater on Canal Street. This year we'll be at the Civic Theaters until the Singer opens up. So we are in the plans of hosting it there next year. So this year we'll be at the Singer Theater. This is our 4th year of the NOLA Hip Hop Awards. Yeah.
Awesome. And you're dividing your time between New Orleans and New York, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in the process of doing the same thing I'm doing in New Orleans and New York City, hosting a lot of underground hip hop events, House of Blues, New Orleans, Howlin' Wolf, One Eye Jack. So basically creating a lane that I've created in New Orleans and bringing it on the road, taking out New Orleans artists and bringing them to New York City. I have a monthly show at the House of Blues called Certified New Orleans. In New York, starting next month, we have something called Certified NYC, in which I'm going to take the New Orleans artists and bring them to New York to collab with New York artists. And that's going to be a monthly.
And New Orleans certainly has a well-deserved reputation as being a hotbed for hip-hop music. I mean, there have been so many famous artists that have come out of here.
Yeah.
And yet, for the average consumer looking to go out to hear music on a given night, sometimes it can be pretty difficult to find hip-hop in a live setting. So it
Right.
sounds like you guys are really trying to address that.
Yeah, well, we have been addressing it since 2006. So I've been promoting the shows for a very long time down there. Currency's first headline show was at One Night Jack, and and from there, Big Sean, Wiz, all your mainstream national artists. First show in New Orleans, like we did them at smaller venues and just kept rotating and bringing them around in a year until they've reached this plateau where they're doing the major shows of 10,000, 20,000 people. So, I mean, it's just keeping it fresh, staying innovative, staying ahead of the curve on all the artists, especially in New Orleans. Like we have D1, we have 3D Tutti, Nesby Phipps, Big Frida. Like we held those shows like before they even got to the plateau where they at. And helping, just working with those guys to get them to that plateau where they national artists.
Who's the next artist that's getting ready to bust out that we don't know about yet?
I would say right now, Nicky the B. You would say LG, 3D
Nicky the B, of
Nati.
course, did the big collaboration with Diplo.
With Diplo, yeah. So if you go Nicky the B, if you check his YouTube out right now, I mean, he just landed a Burger King commercial with his music. So yeah, so you check him out. He's on like a few commercials and stuff like that. So you just have to stay tuned.
Have it
Like
your way.
my motto has just been like just keeping it keeping our New Orleans artists and just giving back as much as possible to keep them motivated with producing music, putting it out there, because New Orleans has always been a city of jazz, stuff like that. So I just saw the you know what I'm saying, it's not too much for hip hop. So that's been my calling, because I am a music producer. So I work with a lot of these artists. So it's always been just like, what can we do to help these guys get their music out further?
Awesome. Nesby, it's your turn, man.
What's happening?
So most people know you as a performer,
Yeah.
as a rap artist, as a lyricist,
Yeah.
but you're also a producer
Yeah,
and
producer.
have been a digital music entrepreneur for quite some time, definitely ahead of the curve in terms of distributing your music for free through your website and building a fan base that way. But one of the reasons why I asked you to come today was to talk about your new career working on iPhone apps.
Yeah.
So why
iPhone
don't you
apps.
tell us about Mardi Brah?
All right, Mardi Brah is based off of Mardi Gras, but we say Brah down here, so we switch it to Mardi Brah. And when I say we, I'm speaking about Lionel Milton, who was a bit tardy today, but I'm gonna hold it down for him. He and I, in conjunction with Flat Stacks, with Chris Schultz, another tech company that's based in New Orleans. We took the punt, pass, and kick theme. If you guys are familiar with a lot of halftime shows at football games, they would, do the punt, pass, and kick thing. And we coupled it with the theme of New Orleans and Mardi Gras. So instead of a football, you would throw a coconut. And instead of a quarterback, it'll come out of a tuba, which we call a Sousa float. And there's different levels of it, and it's still in development. We launched it around Super Bowl this year. And it was a great thing, and it keeps growing. I did the music and some game consulting as far as the gameplay. Flow Tribe, a band based in New Orleans, but they gigging like crazy around the world. We both collaborated on music for the game. It's available on the iPhone platform. We should be ready for iPad by the summertime. I wish Chris was here to tell you exactly. But in a nutshell, that's what it is. It's extremely fun. I've tested it out not only on myself and kids, but other people. And, if you have an iPhone or
My
somebody.
9-year-old likes it.
Yeah, see, there you go. Boom, all right. So,
I
yeah.
can't figure it out, but he loves it.
I'm going to give you a crash course, though.
All right.
Yeah. But, yeah, in a nutshell, Mardi Brah, video game app, punt, pass, and kick, themed around all New Orleans stuff, so make sure y'all check it out.
I don't know if y'all have figured this out yet. I think a lot of people are still working on it. But in a nutshell, how do you monetize it? It's a free app, right?
Yeah, it's a free app, but it's pretty much the same. There we go. Come on.
Well, look
Everybody
what the cat
give a round of
dragged
applause
in.
for Lionel Milton, y'all. Lionel Milton, he's the designer, the artist of the game. He designed all the characters, the background, and all that.
Come on and take a bow.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
But
that's
you don't
how he
get to
get on
talk.
stage.
Yes, you're right. We already know.
Monetization, and I'll give I'll paraphrase it. It's just like with anything else. Radio play, television is driven by commercial, advertisement or whatnot. And
So display ads. That
yeah,
type
you would
thing.
display ads, and we're still in the beta phase, so we haven't gotten to like bombarding you with apps. So this, with advertisements. So this is the time to get in. But like with anything, if you get the free version, it's a light version, so you don't get full access to everything in the site. And they hit you with advertisements, and once you purchase it, you get rid of the advertisements, and you get the full site. I mean, the full app, the full gameplay.
So it's kind of like a Spotify or Pandora subscription. You pay X amount, and you don't have to listen to the annoying ads.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
Great. All right, Lionel, you got anything to add? Where did the idea for Mardi Brah come from?
The truth?
No, lie to me.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry I'm a little late, but Jazz Fest is always great. So, hey, I had to have fun. Just got up. But the thing I want to add to it is that it was fun to come up with it. It was kind of like last night. You're just kind of sitting around being creative, and this idea pops in your head. And because I was blessed with the gift to be able to draw and paint is what I can ever imagine, and great friends and family around who can create great sounds. I figured what would be a great game to play than something real simple, which is a kind of pump, pass, and catch, but a New Orleans version of pump, pass, and catch, which I haven't seen before. So basically I said, instead of having someone throw a ball, why not launch it out of a sousaphone? Why not, instead of it being a ball, what's the same shape as a ball, kind of like a coconut. So I'm like, so it kind of progressed from there, like what's New Orleans-y, but also what's indigenous to us, but also what's fun and what's exciting and what's a little different and colorful I can play with. So a football, you can change the color up a bit, but a coconut, you can really go wild with it. So I added beads, the balloons, all kinds of stuff, and some great sound. And I figured throw it at the wall, see if it stick, and it stuck. And yeah, we got fun.
My favorite part is Mike on?
Is it?
Yo, all right. My favorite part about the game, I just want to highlight it. There's 4 characters, and it's so New Orleans. There's 4 characters. One, his name is Zirk. All right, that's some New Orleans stuff. If you know anything about, there's Zirk.
I'm Zirked right now.
Pluck, Noonie, and Tutti, like Tuesday. Y'all check out them characters. The names are just like so naturally New Orleans, man. That's one of my favorite parts of it, though.
I figured with people like Nez, if I didn't make it authentically New Orleans, I get called out on it. So
Yeah.
I had to make sure,
It's authentic to the bone.
Oh yeah.
We have a
for
couple
sure.
of minutes for Q&A. Does anybody have a question for our entrepreneurs here? If so, please use the microphone at the front so we can broadcast your fabulous voice over the internet.
Come on, let's talk. Don't sit in this cold room for nothing.
All right. It is cold in here.
Very cold.
You feel good.
Yeah, you like that,
Great,
huh?
right? Oh, I love it right now.
We
It's
got
great.
a question in the front. Wow. To the microphones. There's microphones at the beginning of each row, or aisle, rather.
Thanks, Scott. Reeves, this question's for you. My name's Elton Foster with Groove Rodeo Management, and you may have covered this and I may have missed it because I was sipping my Bloody Mary and concentrating on chomping on the green beans. But when an artist goes through you for booking, whether it's a festival, venue, or whatever, how is the artist compensated? Do you split what you're getting from the venue and the artist knows what they're getting up front, or is there a percentage, or how do you structure that?
The deals all depend. Usually, for a headliner artist, there's usually a guarantee. So the ball's really in our court. If, Trombone Shorty is coming through, we'll usually place a bid. We'll say he's worth, we think he's worth so much guaranteed money, whether it's $5,000 or $50,000 or $100,000. Usually there's a guarantee. So if an artist comes and does a show with Winter Circle Productions, they're going to probably get paid no matter what, if that's the type of deal structure. And most national artists, most artists that have representation like that wouldn't take any other form of deal. They're getting a guarantee, and then there's what's called a split point. So after their guarantee is paid, after our expenses are paid, and we get, a small percentage of profit, then they get what's called a back end. So they'll typically negotiate a back end percentage. For a touring artist, it's usually between 80 and 90%. So once the costs are covered, once the band's paid their guarantee, and once we get usually like a 10 to 15% promoter profit, and that's 10 or 15% of what the total overhead of the show is, then what's left then gets split between the promoter and the artist. So, the artists, for the most part, in a lot of the shows that we're working with, they're walking away with 60 to 65% of the gross of the show. They're taking home the majority of the dollars. The thought that the promoter is the one walking home with the fat pockets is really not the case anymore. If you have sufficient representation and you're not letting yourself being taken advantage of by promoters like that. But that's usually how the deals are structured now.
Cool. Hey, man, y'all are doing some awesome stuff. I represent the other side of Louisiana with the Zydeco stuff. How do I get plugged into what's happening in New Orleans? Because once you cross the Atchafalaya and the Mississippi, we pretty much out in no man's land. Now, we can drive, so just let me know. I'll be there. I'm ready for Bloody Sunday. I'm ready for all of that. You know what I'm saying? How do I get plugged in? If I'm not here.
If you're not,
If I'm not here every day, because that's how y'all know each other. That's how y'all do it.
I would
things
say
like
make it a
this.
point to come here. One of the biggest things I did in my career was because when you do stuff in New Orleans, you don't hear about it past the Ninth Ward sometimes, right? But so I went to the music. I actually left New Orleans and went to New York. So from the Atchafalaya to down here, that ain't that far. So come on, take your. Just be around. Like you're here now, you just reach out, shake hands, and build those contacts, and pull it towards you. You know what I'm saying? Pull it towards you. Like use your weight. You know what I'm saying? Get all in there. And sometimes you got to put both hands on them. Like, man, come here. You know what I'm saying? So just get all in it. It's no rocket science to it at all. Just
What you might want to do is once a week or once every 2 weeks is just rent a desk at the launch pad. Just rent a desk for a day or whatever, and just get some work that you have to get done anyway, and then you'll just meet some people and learn about when the meetups are and that type of thing.
And to piggyback off it right quick, I went to the launch pad, not even to set up. I went in there to go pick up a check. It took 2 minutes to do that, and I met like 5 guys whom I'm like working with stuff on now. So just imagine if you go sit down in there.
Or just go have cocktails at Captiville at 5 o'clock on a Friday.
Boom.
You'll have a tech deal within 5 minutes.
Launchpad's a place.
The launch pad, the building on Magazine and Girard.
643 magazine.
Okay, last question, real quick, and then we got to go.
Yeah, just quickly for Patrick and Reeves. How do you sign up for get involved in the tip jar thing, digital tip jar? And Reeves, how do you find local artists? How do you normally end up adding artists to your roster?
Okay, I can answer that real quick for you. So the first thing that you're going to need to have is probably a PayPal account or Stripe, but I would recommend PayPal. So if you've got a PayPal account, you can sign up for Digital Tip Jar in like a couple minutes. But if you don't have a PayPal account, get your PayPal account. All you need is an email address. And then once you got that, you go to digitaltipjar.com, register as a performer. It'll ask you for information like who's in your band, or if you're a solo artist, or a little 4-sentence bio and an image of you, little stuff like that. And then you're done. The whole process takes about 5 minutes, and you'll have your QR code that's automatically created for you. You'll have a URL that's created for you, and it's really an easy process.
Okay, do you guys, all right, Reeves, go ahead.
There's a second part there. How do we find the artists that, we look in a lot of different places. We look at, what people are talking about, in social media. We look at, we go out to shows and see, who's performing and who's working hard. And, the word that we use, like probably too much is just like the word buzz, like who has buzz, who are people talking about, who's kind of finding new ways to sort of get themselves out there, who's really, kind of got presence everywhere. I think something that a lot of artists and aren't doing these days is they aren't understanding the value of being present in sort of every potential outlet and every channel that they could possibly be. So whether that's, you know, performing on Frenchmen Street, whether it's having a Twitter handle, having a Facebook page, having a website, having, you know, building your email list, and really working on all those different sort of facets of self-promotion. We look for artists, you know, the way artists get representation, or the way we find out about artists, is usually through them being really effective self-promoters. And them really knowing who their fan base is, building it, and continuing to connect with it. Build a relationship with your fan base, talk to them, you know, get their emails, get their contact information, get their phone number, send them texts, say, hey, I'm playing here, send them an email that say I'm playing here, you know, hang up posters and kind of just get your name out there.
Can we go down the line, starting with Nesby? And so all of these folks here are hopefully inspired by your success and your drive and your determination to try something new and creative. So any suggestions for other folks on how they can get started doing the types of things that you've been doing? Google
is your friend. YouTube is your friend's cousin. Use them. Any questions you have, you'd be surprised how much you don't have to ask other people things. Virtually anything you want to know, the steps are right there in front of you. Just follow through on them once you read them. You know, if you might need to consult with somebody, and if you do so. Everybody up here is up here because of an idea they had. So just put just as much ambition and enthusiasm in it, and follow it all the way through, because, like, you know, digital tip jar, again, started from a hackathon, and now, like, I've collected money on digital tip jar and fed children with it. So we need your ideas. We need your good energy. So just follow through. Google it. Anybody in the room who's doing anything remotely close to what you want to do, get with them, because, like, they might need your ideas. So just don't be afraid to jump off the porch, man. That's it.
L?
To add to that, like what Nesby said, I mean, for me personally, I sit in a room all day and just draw and paint, but I'm able to kind of reach a lot of people and things because I completely abuse the internet and FedEx, so I don't have to leave. So I use that as like my left hand and my right hand in order to grab money from the world. So I suggest everyone else to use the internet and FedEx as much as possible to take money from the world.
Law, what are your words of wisdom for somebody that wants to emulate creating the types of businesses that you have?
I would just say don't be afraid to act on your idea, take the risk, because there's a risk in a lot of ideas out there. So I would just say just act on it. Someone is thinking about the same thing you're thinking about. So just really just move forward, and don't be afraid to be an innovator, to be the first to do something. It may take a little while, but at least you're chasing your dream and going after something that most definitely probably can help someone else. So just go after it.
Darren, success comes so easily, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I just wake up.
So
it grows on trees.
Takes. It's just instant the way things work out, right?
Yeah, I don't understand this whole word struggle. What's that? So if you don't ask a question, the answer is always no. I think that's one of those quotes out there. And the other thing is, we're working in. So you always got to ask for things, you know, but don't take it personally if you don't get it at first. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was, the first to lose in business is the one who gets emotional. So, you know, this is an artistic medium we're all working in, and there's all these emotions involved. I'm sorry, Scott. Next time. But the idea is, if you get emotional, then you're going to start thinking illogically and then or rationally. And if you just don't get emotional, you know, you'll probably be all right. But just don't take it personally. You're going to get emotional anyway. But you know, if you're at that moment in a business transaction, the one that's getting emotional is probably not going to do as well. So.
All right, Mr. Spock. Reeves. So somebody wants to become a concert promoter. What do they do first?
I would say just kind of start small, start with what you know, and be persistent. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we were so frustrated and so depressed and, you know, and dead and just kind of, you know, in tough spots, and we just, whether it's our own stubbornness, our own vision or some combination of the both, or just having the right people around us encouraging us, just kind of keep going, I guess, persistence.
Travis, you've tried a couple of new directions a couple of times in your career so far. How do you keep the inspiration?
Well, I do what I like all the time. I don't really think of this as a job. This is kind of just me following my passion, and I'm curious, and I keep thinking of new things, and I keep wanting to do them. So if somebody wants to get involved in the hackathons, we encourage you to just show up. We had tons of people show up. James Carville showed up at one of them and started looking at the code and getting involved and asking the right questions. And now we have a relationship with them. We're going to do politics stuff in the future. And we have an upcoming hackathon at Bonnaroo. If anybody wants to make the drive to Nashville, it'll be fun. Won't suck. And if somebody asks about Bloody Sunday sessions, you can go on the site and submit if you want to be considered for Bloody Sunday sessions. And my general advice is, figure out something that you really love doing. Do it, in your spare time as hard as you can until you can turn it into your full-time gig. And use all the available technologies. Use Kickstarter, use Rally, use Facebook and all these new things, and really build a tribe around yourself and surround yourself with the right people who are going to support what you're doing, and then find mentors. I'm lucky to have Ty here as a mentor, and we have there's people out there in the world who really care about you just because you're from New Orleans. It doesn't even matter if you even have the best idea in the world. They want to help, and luckily we have that New Orleans side. It's better than being from Cleveland or wherever the hell else.
Hear, hear. Patrick, you get the last word.
Well, yeah, all that stuff. And I guess also, I think it's important to get started, you just put yourself in the environment of wherever you're trying to do and keep yourself in there like every day. So for me, it was live music. And before I got started recording bands and streaming bands, I was just like there. I was at the shows, and I would stay. I didn't leave early, and so I was always there so people knew me, and I had those relationships. So when it was time to start working with people, they had a foundation for knowing me and they knew that I was in it for the right reasons. And the other thing I would say is that getting started isn't always the hardest part. Is keeping going is the hardest part. So you really just kind of don't get discouraged, and don't necessarily keep beating your head against the wall doing the same thing. You got to adjust based on what you're doing, what kind of response you're getting. But if you're passionate about something and you believe in it, then you just got to keep going, because it's probably not going to click for you right away.
Excellent words of wisdom. How about a round of applause for our entrepreneurs? Okay, thank you very much. So here's what's going on. We are on a really tight schedule. We're already behind, so I'm going to ask you guys to take it all the way out into the room. I'm going to ask you all to stay seated and not rush the stage like you usually do, so just chill out. We're going to set the stage real quick, and we're going to come back with our keynote interview. So if you do need to take a break, please take it out into the hall. But we're going to roll right into the next discussion as soon as we reset the stage. Thank you. All right, thanks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.